been a really exciting week, and people have a sense of joy and urgency and happy warrior stuff, and that really matters in politics. It really makes a big difference. But
yeah, absolutely. There's been all of these coalition calls that have been happening that have been like a breath of fresh air for people, as like now people can get involved from their living rooms in ways that they could not before. And so it is an amazing energy. And I do have to say, like, in this way, that when the National Association of Black Journalists announced that they were going to be platforming Trump, I was like, no, this is a terrible move. It's going to suck the energy out of all of this positivity that we have. This is like it. I was upset. But then
they can't help it. They just can't help it.
Like, I was like, oh, this is terrible and wonderful all at the same time. Never have I been so gleeful to witness racism in real time.
You know, I think you could, when you break down that interview, you could see from the very second he walked out there that he's not accustomed to, first off, Black women sitting across from him asking him questions that are not the Kim Jong-un questions he gets on Fox. And I think he thought it would be like an ordinary Harris Faulkner interview. Mr. President, is it true you're tall, handsome, and brilliant?
Well, and I guess he had come straight off of an interview with her, so maybe he was a bit like off guard, I would almost say. And so he walked out there with this kind of like bravado, thinking like, oh, I'm going to own this stage. And then he had his ass handed to him by Rachel Scott, which, by the way, like, people are like, oh, some of it might have been combative. No, she stated facts.
I didn't. You know what? I have to say, I thought it was absolutely professionally handled. And you know, as a guy who's been on a million TV interviews and done a million interviews, not one of those questions was over the top or tenditious or cruel, or they used his words, Maya. They used the actual words that come out of his mouth.
Yeah, and he apparently is not used to answering to his own words. Like, that, to me, is probably one of the least presidential things. He's like, these are my words. I don't want to answer to my words. And I'm like, it put on full display how unprepared he was, but also how disrespectful he is as a human being, because he did not prepare, and when his team did not prepare him for being on that stage at all. And so I love that she went in and she did not relent. And I immediately, within 5 minutes, I was like, he's not going to make this. He's not going to make the whole time. And I actually thought he was going to storm off stage.
Well, I mean, as much as they want to say that he was there for the scheduled time, he wasn't. They wanted him off that stage. His staff wanted him off that stage. And we had a moment there where his nervousness was so apparent. And you can see it from Trump's body language. Here's the pose he gets into. He hunches over, spreads his legs and puts his hand between his knees, and his long ass red tie drops all the way down there. But hey, and by the way, folks,
like an attack dog kind of thing?
Like an attack dog, kind of. By the way, the software is a little glitchy tonight, so just bear with us. We've had a little bit of a streaming issue. Stick with us. We got a lot more stuff on the show that is well worth hanging around for, no matter what's wrong with YouTube. I think, Maya, don't we have a couple of clips of this disaster?
We do, yeah. I think we need to refresh everybody a little bit so we can experience this together.
How bad that was.
Yeah.
Why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful. First of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. but it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word.
Sir,
I have
if you
a
don't mind, I'd
hostile
love
judge.
to. We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse
if
you.
we
You're the
can.
one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand. I cannot understand your microphone.
I know,
is so
it is
muffled.
really hard for me
I
to
mean, it's just,
understand you, too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's
Whoa.
closer.
I can understand you.
I'm happy to hear that, sir.
But I can't
Really happy to hear
understand,
that.
Harris, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh, my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That was a nasty, that wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
you
ask
can
me a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated
you
your
can answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually. I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it, that is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
So I guess when you're a journalist, they just let you ask questions. That's supposed to be how you can just move on them.
Maya, this guy, we know there are things in this world that he dislikes. We know this from long history of Trump. He does not like women. He does not like black people. He does not like questions. He does not like being outside. You know, Renee said this yesterday. He's like one of those dolls where you pull the string and it says one of like 5 or 6 random phrases. But once you've pulled the string enough times, he's always going to say the same garbage over and over again. And he's used to that in these MAGA media interviews on Fox and Newsmax and OAN. But when he gets here, man, he was switched off. He did not know what to do. And especially because, again, these people were as professional as possibly imaginable. It wasn't an ambush interview. It wasn't garbage. It wasn't a lie. It wasn't fake news. It was journalism. And you know what? He's not used to journalism.
No, he absolutely isn't. And so it just goes to show you, though, what his leadership style is, because if he's unable to sit up there and defend his record or to speak about his ideals and his policies in a way that's not combative, I find it hard to believe all the people who say, oh, behind closed doors, Trump loves to take in constructive criticism. Oh, behind closed, he's always open to new ideas. I'm like, is it?
Sure, Donald. But you know, but Maya, I mean, and since that interview, Trump and Trump's campaign and Trump's allies, they're not quitting. They're like, hey, wow, we got in some shit for this racism. Maybe we should do more racism.
Yeah, it almost feels like an all-in strategy because it is all they have at this point, because they can't walk back from any of it. Project 2025 is out there. Everyone hates it. And so really all they have is the ability to rile up their base around all of these racist tropes and to either drive enough negativity into the race that maybe people want to stay away. But this all-in strategy is delicious because it's not going to work.
I mean, and you know, we were talking about this before the show a little bit. The fact that Donald Trump, in the year of our Lord 2024 AD, does not understand that people can have multiple streams of racial components in their background is so mind-blowing that any of them think that that's a great political strategy, that I've had trouble like processing how dense, how much plastic jug vodka their mothers drank when they were in the womb to make them that damaged as human beings.
Yeah, I feel like he lives in a silo, perhaps, where maybe his kids' friends aren't biracial, perhaps. And so maybe that's something that doesn't exist. But I can tell you, most suburban moms, their kids have tons of multiracial, biracial friends. And so what they saw yesterday was offensive on so many levels. You can best believe he alienated Gen Z with that. And so you have whole families right now looking around going, wow, he really is that racist. All of this talk about unifying people, and please, Amber Rose, I keep going back to her little speech at the convention where she's like, he doesn't care if you're black or white or gay. And then tried to double down on it yesterday, by the way.
I heard she did. I didn't see the actual tweet, but you know, Maya, it's like we've already seen Gen Z voters move from, there's some of the doubling down. Yeah.
Like,
Let's
because-
say now, then, yesterday, you've pissed off African Americans and folks of across the board, and today you're going after the 5.4 million Asian and South Pacific voters in the country and insulting them too. Excellent move, Donald. Just keep it up. You're doing great, Bubby. You're doing great.
I mean, at least we have to say he is saying it with his whole chest. Like, he is firmly putting his racism out there. Can we the clip specifically? I want to look at that one.
Let's play that through.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition then. Would you give me a definition of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always identified as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be.
The levels, you know how like in Disney movies, there's like different levels for everybody. Like there's like the more highbrow humor, and then there's like the slapstick stuff, and so it can hit all sorts of different audiences.
Oh yeah,
he just hit so many levels of racism in so many different ways and angles that it was actually hard to keep up.
Listen, the only thing he didn't use was the N-word, but it was at the tip of his damn tongue. You could tell, just as a lot of his allies and supporters who now use the phrase DEI when they can't say the N-word.
Oh yeah, we know what they're saying.
And folks, you should always remember this. When you hear a Republican say DEI, that's the N-word. Just put it in your head, because that's exactly, they know they can't get away with saying that word, but they sure as hell want to.
Yeah, they really do. And they shifted from woke to DEI. And
we had critical race theory in the middle there for a minute.
But what's interesting to me too about the weight, because the real question was, are you going to round up your party? Because remember, they had already issued a memorandum of stop being so racist.
Right. When you have to tell your party to stop using words like colored, you should really think about, is that about your party?
Yeah, you just might be a racist. Yeah. So it seems like this whole past week, they tried to put out that memo and everybody got the memo and they're like, I don't know what this means to not be racist. I don't think I can actually do that.
Right.
And so they just were like, F it. And they just tossed it out. And really,
from a Fox News host saying she was at a colored sorority last week to this montage we're going to show you guys. And this is, we're going to roll a piece of tape here for you. This is like 1/10 of what we saw this week from these crazy MAGAs trying so hard to communicate, to remind people that Kamala Harris is in fact Black. It's because it's very scary, obviously, to Karen and Ken in their suburban home somewhere. To hear that on Fox a million times. But let's roll that tape. And again, this is like 1/10 of them.
It's never the Republicans who ever bring up race.
Is she Indian or is she Black? She was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be
This woman, this disaster whose only qualification was having a vagina and the right skin color.
Either Kamala Harris, she's the original Haktua girl.
She's never earned or won anything.
Pimp's trying to find a woman that's weak. You know what I mean, man? Jive turkey? That's not how I remember Kamala Harris speaking. That sounded a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more jive to me.
Kamala Harris is a JV player. She is a DEI pick.
She was a DEI hire.
The DEI vice president.
She would be the queen of DEI if she were elected.
Affirmative action. You're selected because the melanin in the content in your skin.
Is it possible that she's getting whiter?
Whiter?
Yeah.
I think they've been.
Have you seen her lately? Like, it is weird. It's like she's like a biracial werewolf. Just.
I've noticed she started wearing.
Straightening.
She's a DEI hire, right? She's a woman. She's colored, therefore she's got to be good.
So racist. I don't.
Folks.
I mean, listen, one of the things folks, I will tell you, and when this is all over and we defeat Donald Trump, I'm going to focus on two big things. Putting Joe Biden on Mount Rushmore wearing the sunglasses, just to piss off the MAGAs for 1,000 years, and deporting Seb Gorka. These are the two things. I mean, it's a small dream to have, okay? There won't be many more mountains to climb after we defeat Trump, but those two things are a good dream to have.
Yeah, what I do love about all of this rampant racism is the fact that it is such a contrast to the coalition that Kamala is building. And I think that's what people are so pissed off about on the right. Yeah, because it's unstoppable. It's fun. They've got Meg the Stallion. Like, it is, everyone's having a blast.
You know, this is the power of two big things. Being in touch with the actual culture of the country, which Donald Trump is not, folks. Donald Trump thinks Kid Rock is a star. Okay, he's like Hulk Hogan. He thinks is a star. Scott Baio, he thinks is a star. These people are like D-level wannabe has-beens, and let's be real. Trump knows what's coming. He knows Beyonce is coming. He knows Cardi B is coming. He knows the T word is coming. And when Taylor Swift finally endorses the vice president, that's the ball game with a lot of Gen Z voters. They don't get it. She's touched something that inspires people, that makes people happy, that makes them laugh, that makes them feel optimistic. And that is a fucking superpower in politics, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. People have seen the future. They've seen the future and what it can be and the hope. And they've been reminded again of all of the wonderful possibilities of living in a diverse country. We're winning at the Olympics with diverse teams. Like, people are literally seeing it and been able to seize it. And Trump and his team and everybody in the GOP, they remind me of like the CEOs who are trying to drag people back into the office. Like, what? It's just not going to happen.
Right. Sorry, we pass. Yeah, and you look at the way that they have approached the campaign against her, where, as you mentioned, the coalition that's coming together for her. First off, folks, we went from 6% with under 30 voters with Joe Biden, a 6% advantage. Harris is at 28% advantage now. African American voters have come home. They're not in the wind anymore. They're not out there. Trump curious anymore. We are seeing Republican women, and I hate to tell my Republican friends, but around 30% in the latest surveys of Republican women are pro-choice, and they're with her. They don't want to be in the world where Donald Trump and Mike Johnson and Ted Cruz and all these weirdos monitor their periods and tell them where they can and can't travel. So she's building a coalition, and it's not just the Republicans like, oh, it's all, identity politics. Well, not when the identity is everybody. You know what the main identity of her identity politics is right now? American. Yeah. And folks, we are the mutt country. We are the amalgam. We are the everything, country. for good reasons and terrible reasons. But we are now, that melting pot is really a big gumbo. And I fucking love gumbo.
I love gumbo. Who doesn't love gumbo?
I make a good gumbo. You got to come to the house. I make good gumbo.
I will definitely be there. And another thing I think that is really freaking out the Trump camp, and you saw it the way Trump responded on stage yesterday, but Kamala Harris is not afraid of him.
No, not a bit.
Women aren't afraid of him. Whatever magic that he thinks he's able to pull that somehow makes people fear him, it does not work on Black women. We can see that through all of the court cases. It does not work. We do not fear you, Donald. We just don't. And I want to play the clip. It's the
yeah.
Everybody's been watching, because it's like the moment when she says it. Let's just tee it up. We'll watch the clip.
Play it. Just play it out, because it's perfect.
I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
What I love is the smile as she says it.
That's the beautiful part of it, Maya. She knew she had the hook in his mouth the minute she started that. She knows that Donald Trump is a chicken, that he doesn't want to debate her, that he's terrified of being on stage with her. He is absolutely shaking in his depends that he's going to have to stand next to her and she's going to whip his ass up and down that stage. He is petrified of that. And you know what? That event was put together, folks, in 3 days. Had Megan Thee Stallion come in. It had 11,000 incredibly excited, enthusiastic people walk in that door. It had
Quavo was there.
Right? It became an event where you also saw her looking absolutely presidential. And I say this as a pictures guy, as an ad guy, as an advanced guy. She was perfection. The suit, the hair, the makeup, the lighting, the staging. And by the way, you know what I noticed in that arena, Maya? Every flag was an American flag. It wasn't a flag with Trump's face on it.
Right.
It wasn't some distortion of the American flag. She is owning the look and feel of being presidential in a way that I don't think anybody in the Trump team could have ever expected. They are absolutely on their asses trying to figure this out, and it's kind of glorious.
Yeah, and right down to using freedom to walk out to. I mean, it is a picture perfect, TV perfect kind of moment. And, and it was a very memeable situation as well, because you had the kid, I think he's the head of Young Georgia Democrats, who was like rapping along to Kendrick Lamar at one point. And it's like, this is just like feel good politics. And it's what people have been craving. And you can't beat that. And that's, I said earlier, it's like, you can't beat say it to my face energy. You just can't.
No, you can't beat it. And Trump, you're exactly right, Maya. Black women are not afraid of him, and that should lead everybody to not be afraid of him. Okay. He is not somebody you should fear anymore. He's a weak fool. This guy is not what he was. He's not the badass that he used to be in the minds of Americans. This guy is weak. We can beat him. She knows she can beat him. That's the other thing you can see in her eyes and on the stage. She knows she's going to beat this guy. She knows it.
Absolutely. And the rest of America knows it too. And I think it's emboldened people in a positive way, because now everybody is walking around their house going, say it to my face, say it to my face. Like, that's everybody's mantra, like the whole, like in the mirror where it's like, are you talking to me? I'm looking in the mirror going, say it to my face, because so many people have had to deal with all these keyboard warriors over the years, all of these emboldened racists running people out of their jobs, running people off of online platforms with constant harassment. And all of a sudden, Kamala gets up on that stage and she says it, and she gives permission to every woman who has had to deal with this kind of misogyny. She gives permission to say it to my face. And I was like, hot damn, she's winning this thing.
Yeah, and you know what? The idea that Republicans think they're going to beat her on the border and inflation, when you've got something that is changing people's hearts and minds and inspiring them. Look, there were 2 presidents in my lifetime that did that with voters. Barack Obama and Ronald Reagan. Opposite sides of a million things, but they both got out there and people felt like there was something about those 2 men that would change their life for the better, that made them feel optimistic about America. And they're from different eras and different perspectives and all that stuff. But she's got something that has captured this moment, I think, in a way that nobody expected. And it captured this moment of Trump's weakness is more apparent by the day. The fragility of his shtick and his stupid act that he does is more played out by the day. This is like, aside from Trump rallies, you know where Kid Rock plays, folks? Fucking county fairs. That's where Donald Trump is. He's a Borscht Belt comedian now. He's fading. He's dying off. Nobody really gives a shit anymore. And it's breaking down around him, and he hates it. And the thing he hates the most about it is it's being done to him by a 57-year-old African-American woman who does take no shit from him.
Hates it. And it's not all vibes, everybody, because a lot of people are like, oh, don't get too excited. It's all vibes. No. According to vote.org, more than 100,000 people registered to vote within, I think it was within an hour, days of the Harris.
And trust me, folks, those people weren't out going, I better register to vote for Mr. Trump now. No. I don't know. Look, we're now 2 weeks into this. We are going to get a vice presidential announcement next week. That's going to get busy and loud. Folks, the great thing about the vice presidential announcement that's coming up is that every single person you've heard of who could be a potential VP, Kelly, Waltz, Brashear, Shapiro, all of them, okay? If they were dead drunk with a bag over their head, they would be a better VP candidate than J.D. Vance. I promise you, no one's ever going to be able to search for any of those guys and find anything about couch fucking or dolphin fetishes or any of that other stuff. None of it. It's all going to be the contrast is going to blow you away. I don't know who she's going to pick. We have some ideas. There's a lot of rumors. We won't know till we know. Okay, and everybody should stop trying to game it out. They're going to make a decision among a pool of extraordinarily good people who will be extraordinary vice presidential candidates and extraordinary leaders when she's elected. So.
Yeah, and I'm excited for the momentum because when that's announced, we're going to get another wave of momentum and enthusiasm. And so, because I look at all the different candidates and I get excited about all of them. It's almost like that embarrassment of riches you're talking about, because it's like, oh, I like him and I like him and it could be him. Right. And so I think
somebody asked me to make the case the other day, like, which one's the best? I'm like, I can literally make a case for every single one of these candidates that is robust, that is mathematically correct about how they'll help the ticket, but they're all good. They're all fine. Good. You got a million reasons and ways, and every one of them on this, well, except maybe Bashir, but all the main ones on the list, okay, Waltz, Kelly, Shapiro, they all make a change in the electoral college map to the good. And Donald Trump, if any one of those states gets plucked away from Trump, so Shapiro helps a lot. He's got a 62% approval rating. I promise you that helps in Pennsylvania. You take Pennsylvania out of the Trump equation, and he has to run the rest of the board. You take Arizona out of the equation, he has to run the rest of the board. You take Wisconsin or Michigan or both. You take both Wisconsin and Michigan out of the equation, Trump's in deep water. I mean, they went from having 25 or so paths to victory. Right now, it's down to about 7 or 8. And it may be even smaller than that by next week, because the numbers are not in Trump's way.
They're not. Like, he shouldn't be looking at paths to victory. He should be looking at exit strategy. Like, that needs to be.
He should be looking at non-extradition countries.
Like, literally. It's all funny. It's all fun and games. But the stakes
But there's also a lot of the stakes are big, folks. And this is a piece we put out this week that while we're having fun, we also take this enormously seriously because there's no room for error as we go forward. So let's roll that.
No more excuses. Joe's out, Kamala's in, Trump's the threat. The future of America hangs in the balance. On one side, a movement to end democracy, to rip away the rights of women, deport hundreds of thousands of American citizens, have Project 2025 shoved down your throat while it destroys your freedom, and to turn back the clock on civil rights, and watch Trump sell off the country to the highest bidder, and surrender to dictators like Putin and Kim. On the other side, a patriotic pro-American coalition, Republicans, Democrats, and independents standing together. We don't agree on everything, but we all agree on one big thing. Donald Trump will destroy this nation. With us by her side, Kamala Harris will stop him. Those are the stakes. This is the fight. Join us.
Folks, do us a big favor. We had a little weirdness on the stream tonight. Do us a big favor. Go out to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, the Lincoln Project channel. Click the bell so you'll always get notified when we're on the air. And we'll be doing more on-air stuff as we go forward because Maya and I might be somewhere that rhymes with schmemocratic.
Shimago.
It's Chicago. Yeah. We're going to be doing more live stuff. So go do us a favor. Go out to YouTube, click subscribe, click the bell so you know when we're coming on the air. It really helps the algorithm. It really helps get the message out. We would appreciate it very much. You can also hook up yourself for all of our information that flows out every day on our Twitter feed, on our TikTok, where our trolling operation is apparently magnificent. I am 60, so I don't do TikTok. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We're on stone knives and bearskins. We're on tablets etched in a mysterious set of runes found deep in a Viking burial ground. We're everywhere. Go out, sign up, get involved. We love you all. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
They're accusing J.D. Vance of having sex with a couch. Not on a couch, with a couch. It's a weird thing to do. And now they're calling him weird.
Because we're watching the Democrat Party try to become unburdened by what has been.
And if you're going to accuse someone of having sex with a couch, you better have video.
We have a new victim now, Kamala.
Just sit down with our enemies and have a cup of hot cocoa and give them a hug that they'll be nice to us. They've had one vegetable in chief. They don't want another. Margaret Thatcher didn't giggle. A little bit of a ding-dong. A ding-dong, bit of a ding-dong.
This ding-dong senator has risen in the polls.
Everybody's excited about her, and that scares me.
She's going to win.
And J.D. Vance has gone down 8
I'm so
points.
nervous.
Every family has their crazy uncle. My Uncle Donald is atomic crazy.
Communist San Francisco.
It means she likes me.
She loves me. We'll put a windmill on the top of our car.
Public officials had to be Christians in many areas. And we've gone so far away from that. And we need to get back.
Saying his supporters won't have to vote again in 4 years.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians.
What the heck did he mean there?
Well, I think that was a classic Trumpism, if you will.
Really? That's it?
The carpet doesn't match the drapes, brother. I mean, we've had historic...
This is weird behavior. Weird. Everything about, again, Vance is weird.
I love her because she's who she is. Obviously, she's not a white person.
Calling you weird, does that hurt your feelings? How do you feel about that?
No, not at all. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
I was always a nice athlete, a really good athlete, but I don't want to brag. No, I haven't changed. Maybe I've gotten worse, actually, because I get angry. You're not going to teach a criminal not to be a criminal.